Now in the last section, we've seen that percents can be written as decimals. Percents can be written as fractions. Now we're going to do the opposite. We start with a fraction and write it as a percent, or we start with a decimal and write it as a percent. So basically, we are trying to show that a percent can be written as a decimal or a fraction, and a fraction or a decimal can be written as a percent. So what are we doing here? We're going to change the decimal to a percent. So we go 0.23 and we multiply by 100%. We can multiply by 100% because 100% is 100 over 100, which is equal to a 1. So it's okay to multiply with a 1. However, we're going to leave the percent symbol out here because we want to write our final answer as a percent. And now we have 0.23 times 100. Multiplying with 100 is shifting the decimal point to the right by 2 decimal places. So that becomes a 23. So we did the parentheses first, and then it's a 23%. So what we've done is taken a decimal and written it as a percent. So again, 2.34. We're going to change it a decimal to a percent. So we multiply with not 100, but 100%. We leave the percent outside and simplify what's inside the parentheses because we want to write the decimal as a percent. So 2 place values to the right. So shift to the right. By 2 places. So that becomes a 234%. So each of these decimals, so notice that if it's a 2, then it would be a 200%. So if it's 2.34, it's 234%. So 1.5. And now we're going to change it to a percent, which means we multiply by 100. %. So remember that multiplying with 100% is multiplying by 100 over 100, which is equal to a 1. Multiplying by 1 does not change the value. We're just writing it in a different way. So we have 1.5 times 100. So 2 zeros would mean shifting the decimal point 2 place values to the right. So that would give you 150%. So we're going to change this decimal to a percent, which means we multiply by 100%, and that is equal to shifting the decimal point 2 place values to the right because we have 2 zeros and its multiplication we shift to the right. So we have 0.4%, 8.55 times 100%. We're changing this decimal to a percent, so we have to multiply by 100%, which is equal to multiplying by a 1. So 8.55. When we multiply by 100, we shift the decimal point 2 place values to the right, which makes it an 855%. Now we have a fraction instead of a decimal. So 2/5 times 100%. Now we can write this as a mixed number or a decimal, so it's just easier to write it as a mixed number. So that is 2 times 10 times 10. So I'm going to simplify it first. So this is equal to 2 times 5 times 2, which is a 10, times a 10. I'm not breaking down everything because I have just a 5 in the denominator. So that is 2 times 2, 4, and that is 4 times 10, 40%. 7/9 times 100%. 7/9 is a fraction. How do we convert it to a percent? We multiply by 100%. So that's 7 times 100 over 9%. So that is equal to, nothing cancels. That's equal to a 700 over 9%. I'm going to change it to a mixed number because that's easier. Nine times 7 is 63. Subtract to get a 7. Bring the next 0 down. 9 times 7 is 63. Subtract to get a 7. We stop. The minute we get a remainder, we can stop. Because we're going to write this as 77 and 7, which is a remainder, and the divisor is 9%. Remember, our goal is to change this to a percent, and that's exactly what we did. Now we're going to change this to a percent. How do we do it? We multiply by 100%. When a mixed number is multiplied with anything, this has to change to an improper fraction. So we have 17 over 8. So 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1, 17 over 8 times 100%. Now 4 goes into 8 and 4 also goes into 100. 25 times 4 quarters make 100 cents. Divided by 4 times 2, which is 8. We can cancel the 4s and we get 25 times 17. So that's 17 quarters, but you could just do the multiplication. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 2s are 14, 15, 16, 17, 5, 2 1s are 2, so we have a 5, 7 plus 5 is 12, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1, 4. It's $4.25, so that's $4.25 over 2%. So now we change this to a mixed number because that's easiest instead of changing it to a decimal. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. Bring the 2 down. 2 times 1 is 2. 0. Bring the 5 down. 2 times 2 is 4. We subtract to get a remainder of 1. So that is 212. And the remainder over the divisor. So the whole number is always the quotient. And here the question says, write the fraction as a percent. So we multiply with the 100%. But based on the instructions here, it says round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So this tells us that we have to do the division. And this time the division would have to be a decimal division. So 8 times 100 over 11. Make sure nothing cancels before you do the division. So you combine the numbers. 11 doesn't go into 8. 11 doesn't go into 100. So it's 800 over 11%. Now we just have to change 800 over 11 to a decimal number. 11 is the divisor, the denominator. 11 sevens are 77. The difference is 3. Bring the 0 down. 11 twos are 22. Subtract, you get an 8. Remember, we are doing decimal division because of the instructions. It says round to the 10th place. After the decimal point, we can add any number of zeros. So bring the 0 down. 11 sevens are 77. Subtract. Eleven twos are 22. We can keep going, but because it's recurring, we can see that it's 72.7272, but then we don't really need to know anything beyond the hundredths place. So when we round it to the hundredths place, when you round it to the tenths place, we look at the hundredths place and you get 72.7%, and we're following instructions, 10th of a percent. Now we're going to change this fraction to a decimal. Again, it says rounded to the nearest 10th of a percent. So we're going to change it to a percent, but write the number as a decimal. How do we change anything to a percent? We multiply by 100%. So this would be 3 times 100 over 13. 13 doesn't go into any one of these numbers. So this is 300 over 13%. So 13 is the divisor, and we divide 300 by 13. 13 times 2 is 26. Subtract to get a 4. Bring the 0 down. 13 times 3 is 39. 39. Subtract to get a 1. Now put your decimal point. Since we're doing decimal division, we can't stop here. We have to go on. We bring a 0 down. 13 goes 0 times into 10. Since we have to round it to the 10th place, I have to go just one more. Bring another 0 down. And 13 goes how many times into 100? So let's go 8. Let's try 8. 8 3s are 24. 8 1s are 8. 9 10. That's too big. 13 times 7. 7 3s are 21. 7 1s are 7. 8 9. So that looks okay. So that we have 13 times 7 is 91. I can subtract and I can keep going, but I don't need to go any further because I need to round this to the 10th place. So 23.07, and it goes on. But to the 10th place, rounding would mean look in the next place value and you go 23.1%.